culture without judging. Adult Conversations on Women Radio runs every Monday through Thursday, 9 to 11 p.m., because we are here to break the culture of silence. So if you have a story you would like to bring to the table of Adult Conversations, please send that story along with your name and contact number. Send your story along with your name and contact number to 0703 175 6537. 0703 175 6537. Tonight on Adult Conversations, my father insults my husband. My father insults my husband. My name is Joy, 34 and a fashion designer. My husband is 37 and an engineer. We have 2 daughters. My father is always bad mouthing my husband. He does this even in the presence of my husband. My hubby is understanding, but I know my father's words hurt him. Dad is doing this because I refused to marry his friend's son, whom he arranged for me. I have spoken to my father to respect my husband, but he won't listen. Please advise me. This is Joy speaking tonight. Joy is 34. She's a fashion designer. Her husband is 37 and an engineer. They have 2 daughters. She says her father is always bad mouthing her husband, even in his very presence. Even when he's right there in the room, her father still insults and bad mouths her husband right there. Now she says, my husband is understanding, but I know that my father's words hurt him. She says, Dad is doing this because I refused to marry his friend's son, whom he arranged for me. I have spoken to my father to respect my husband, but he won't listen to me. Please advise me. So Joy is in need of your advice tonight. Her father keeps bad mouthing her husband, keeps insulting her husband, even before him, right when he's there. And she says he does this because she refused to marry the son of one of her father's friends that he arranged for her to marry. But she declined and she married this guy that she's currently married to and she has 2 daughters for. So she says she has spoken to her father to stop insulting and bad mouthing her husband, but he won't listen. So what should she do? She needs advice. The number to advise Joy on is 07000 917 917. 07000 917 917. You can send a text or a WhatsApp message to 0703 175 6537. 0703 175 6537. And anywhere you are in the world, you can also listen via the stream link www.wfm917.com. www.wfm917.com. Now, please, when you call in, first ensure that you turn down the volume of your radio. It's very important to us that you do that so that we can hear you clearly and then we can have a smooth flow of conversation. Please make sure you turn down the volume of your radio. Very important. And now, when you finally get through, please don't stay too long on the phone without making your point. Make your point immediately. Just let us know what your advice is because we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you. Joy tonight wants to hear from you. So please keep it short, keep it simple, and keep it constructive. Keep it short, keep it simple, keep it constructive. Please don't attack anybody else's opinion. We don't do that on Adult Conversations. So thank you. Also, we give priority to the members of the Adult Conversations family group chat, which is why we always say that you should join that group chat. In case you've not joined and you want to, you can send your name and contact number via WhatsApp. Send your name and contact number via WhatsApp to 0703 175 6537. 0703 175 6537, indicating interest in joining the group chat. First message tonight is coming from Chinwe from Ejigbo. Chinwe says, good evening, lady. Report it to your brothers so as to advise your father to desist from such ill behavior. But always plead with your hubby to endure it. Put it in prayer as well. And that's from Chinwe from Ejigbo. Gabriel Sampson from Ketu says, good evening, everyone in the house. You know that some father-in-laws can be so funny with their behavior sometimes. Some of them using the olden day system of choosing who their daughters or sons should marry and they forget that they won't follow them to their matrimonial homes. The happiness of their children supposed to be the priority. But my kind advice to Joy is that you should be pleading with your husband to just overlook him, and with prayers, he will change and love your husband the more. Secondly, let both of you, I mean you and your husband, let let both of you be giving him surprises, especially during the festive period, Easter, Christmas, and even his birthday. And that's from Gabriel Sampson from Kitsu. All right, this one is coming from Tokpa from Kurudu. Tokpa says, good evening to the Adult Conversations family this evening. I guess we all have fruitful outings from all fronts. Concerning Joy's matter, by every standard, what the father is doing to her husband is disrespectful and improper. Whatever misgivings Joy's father had against her husband should have been forgotten after their marriage. And better still, considering the fact that the union has been blessed with two daughters. What exactly is Joy's father up to? Does he pray for Joy's marriage to collapse so that she will now turn around to marry his preferred candidate, who is supposedly his friend's son? Or what is the position of Joy's mother in all of this? Wonders shall never cease. My advice is that Joy should bring this matter to the attention of her siblings so that they can prevail on their father to stop this embarrassing attitude and behavior in order to safeguard her marriage. She should also seek the intervention of her father's relations in the matter so that they can caution him. If the above suggestion fails, Joy and her husband should not hesitate to move far away from their father so that peace can reign in their home. Enemy from within. May God deliver Joy from this overbearing father in Jesus' name. All right. Okay, so Kolawale from Ilikoji says, good evening all. Joy, I'm delighted it was you that discovered this sort of abuse and disrespect to your husband. My advice is that you and your husband should block your father on all socials, including phone. All right. Thank you very much. Keep the messages coming in on WhatsApp and Facebook across all platforms. We are at WFM 917 across all social media platforms at WFM 917. So you can follow us on those platforms. The phone lines are open, so you can call 07000 917 917. That's the number to call. 07000 917 917. Kindly call in and please keep it short, simple, and constructive. Do not take too long on the phone while you're trying to relay your advice. Just call in, give your advice, and let the next person speak. Thank you very much. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, ma.
Good evening. Thank you very much for calling. Chisom, it's been a while.
I called yesterday now.
Yes, but before yesterday, it has been a while I heard from you. Thank you very much, Chisom. Thank you for calling. How are you doing today?
I have to ask this question to
Joy.
What's the lady name?
Joy. That's her name, Joy.
Joy. I have to ask this question to Joy. Is the father staying with them? Is the father staying with them? If her father is not staying with them, my advice for her is that she should move far away. She should talk to her husband that maybe they should pass away, that move very far away from their father. Or the father some family members to talk to him that this thing is past already because they have kids already, they are married already. So all those father-in-law things, there's nothing to fight over it or argue over something like that for because she's married already, she has kids already. So my advice is that either she gather the family member and talk to her father, or she should move very far away from him.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chisom. Thank you for calling. All right. So that's Chisom, our first caller for the night. And Chisom says, just if he lives with you, she wants to know if he lives with you. And that's the first question that she asked. She wants to know, does your father live with you and your husband? If he does not live with you, she says it's better off that you just move far away from him and you just, move far away from him so that he doesn't get access to you and your husband. She also said to consult his relatives and so that, somebody can talk to him, and just get him on a page where he understands that what he's been doing is not right and he shouldn't continue to do that. Now, this is a very unique story on Adult Conversations tonight, and I appreciate this particular story. So, to everyone who's going to call in advance, I'm saying thank you already. Now, Joy is telling us that she has two daughters already. Now, we don't know how long they've been married. We don't know, maybe they had problems with childbearing before they started having kids. We don't know what the background did. We don't even know how long they've been married for. We don't know how long they dated for. We don't know how long they've been married for. So I ask how long they dated for, because if Joy and her boyfriend, or and her husband now, were in a long relationship that spanned maybe above 2 years, her father may have developed this strong dislike for this guy even before they got married. She may him have developed this strong dislike that you have been stringing my daughter along for 2 years plus and you've not married her. So finally they get married. And then maybe in that same time that he supposedly was stringing her along, this his friend's son that he wanted her to marry was just somewhere there waiting and hoping that Joy would give him, the time of the day. And that didn't happen because Joy was in a relationship with this guy. Now, maybe because of that, the father already has developed some serious dislike for this guy because it may have taken long for them to even marry. Now they marry, just imagine they had uh, problems with childbearing. And by problems, I mean anything that spans above the first year of marriage, because parents usually expect that their child, has their child gives birth in within the first year of marriage. That's the prayer that they usually pray. That's the prayer that they pray. That's the hope that they have, that once their child gets married, within the first year, at most within the first 2 years of marriage, they have a child. Now imagine if they didn't have a child within the first year of marriage, and that took maybe another year or another 2 years or another 3 years. Now the father now extra dislikes this man because they are taking so long to have children, and they finally have children. And I don't know where they're from. Joy doesn't say where they're from. He doesn't say whether what tribe they are from. So I would like to ask, what tribe are you people from? What tribe, Joy, what tribe are you from? Now I ask this because if they are from the Igbo tribe or from any tribe that places a lot of priority on the male child, it will further amplify the dislike that the father feels for this man because they have two daughters. They don't have any male children. So at the end of the day, it's like you took so long before you married. Now you've married, you're taking so long before you have children. Now you have children, you're taking so long to give birth to a boy. So what's it? There's everything wrong with you, this guy. And you're using all those things that are wrong with you to affect my daughter when she could have just gotten married to somebody else and all these things would not have happened. Now, all of this is just me giving us possible scenarios as to why the father possibly just dislikes this guy. Now, all of this may not even be the case. It might just be what Joy said. Maybe they didn't take so long to date. Maybe they actually dated for maybe a year or less and got married. And maybe right after they got married, they started having children. Maybe everything went well. The father just really wanted her to date and marry his friend's son. Because according to the man, no father owns what is not right for the child. So to him, this must have been the best person that he wanted her to marry. The best person that he found, that he was like, this is the person that will secure my daughter's future. And now the daughter didn't marry him, and maybe that's what is still riling him up. So Joy is asking, I need advice. My father continually insults my husband. What do I do? Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Chichi, good
Hello.
evening.
Good evening, Santo.
How are you today?
How was your day?
My day was good. Thank you very much.
Yeah. This story, I want to know some certain things. There may be a lot of reasons. I understand why the father is talking to the husband anyhow. I
Okay.
believe that whatsoever reason, the man not supposed to be insulting the husband, but there may be some reason. One, I'm telling Joy, if you're like from Igbo side, if your husband did not marry you legally, as in marry you, as in who, you understand me?
Mm-hmm.
That may be one of the reasons. Are you getting my point?
Mm-hmm.
That may be one of the reasons. Another one is maybe when you people are dating, the past, maybe them, your boyfriend, how you could do your things. How, you understand? I know this thing might, there will be a reason because you cannot tell me that a responsible person who do all, who take care of the family, marry your daughter legally, respect himself, live in his own house, you will be forcing him. You understand me, something? There may be one or two reasons which maybe the daughter did not discover. It's not only because he asked you to marry, there will be a reason. You understand me? Why after you refuse to marry the person he arranged for you, marry your own guy? There will be reason why every time you will be. So what are the insults? What are he saying in those insults? And we don't know. If it's a child that is not pay the Bible, do everything in full, it will be one of the reasons. Or maybe, for example, as they are living like husband and wife, maybe the things that the wife is doing or the way the wife is carrying the family is more than the way the husband is carrying. It will be one of the insults why the father will be giving your husband insults. You understand me?
So, Chichi, what's your advice? What is your advice now?
Well, my advice is that they should stay far away from their father. If you are visiting him too much, I don't know how people are meeting every time. You understand me? Because if your father is in the village, you are in the city, or you are in a different place, you don't have meet every time. Those insults will not be occurring. So people have to stay far away from each other. It's only when something happens or when they are called that you can see each other. So if you stay far away from each other, such thing will not be happening. So you don't carry your family to your father's house. It will be one of the insults. So that's my advice to her.
Okay, thank you very much, Chichi.
Yeah.
Okay, so Chichi is saying maybe some of the reasons that the father is insulting her husband is maybe because he didn't do the traditional marriage the way he didn't marry her well, in quotes, and maybe that's why. Saying maybe Chichi, maybe Joy rather holds a lot of financial responsibility within the family. Maybe he doesn't own his own house and things like that. But she's also saying that regardless of whatever the reason is, the father should not be insulting him that way. And since that's what's happening, they should try and move away from where they stay, if where they stay is close to the father, so that the father won't have access to business and continually insulting the man. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Okay, my name is Apostle Wambiwe.
Apostle
Wambiwe. I'm calling from Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much for calling. Are you a first-time caller?
Yes, I'm a first-time caller.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Okay, please, very quickly, what's your contribution?
Okay, my contribution is that I want to ask a question.
Okay.
Is it the father of the boy that is complaining, or the father of the girl?
The father of the girl.
Okay. He's complaining because his daughter did not form a man for the boy.
No, he's not complaining. He's always insulting the guy that her son married. That his daughter married, rather.
The boy.
No. The daughter of this man is the person that sent the story tonight. Her name is Joy. Joy is telling us that her father is always insulting her husband. And Joy is saying he's doing this because Joy refused to marry the man that her father wanted her to marry, and that's his friend's son. So Joy did not marry her father's friend's son. She married a different man, and that man is her husband now. But this man that she married is the man that her father is always insulting, and she doesn't like it. So she's saying, what's your advice? What can I do to stop my father from insulting my husband.
Okay, they are the people that used to go and visit the father, or they are living with the father of the girl.
We don't know.
They're living together.
We don't know.
Okay. If they are not living together, as the man is insulting him, there's no need to visit the man. But he and the wife should go far from the family of that girl.
Okay.
That's my own advice, because it's not the man have right to choose who will marry her. You understand me now?
Yes.
Because there's no marriage that any family, like my own, for example, my marriage. But at the end of the day, they support it, because whether they think whether that at the end of the day they see that I inside them and my wife inside them. You understand me now?
Yes.
And when my wife got the first pregnant, I pray for woman, because woman is very important. Anybody that is wasting her time.
You're very right. Very right.
Woman is the key of everything.
That's true.
In my yard now, my daughter is 4 years. I used to follow my wife to kick her nuts. But if it's a man, he will not follow her. He will not follow her mother to do anything. But 4 years now, I've started getting her mother. The woman is the product.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much, Pastor. Thank you for calling. Okay, so he's saying just basically some of the same things that Chichi said earlier. Is he living with you? And that's a question that we actually have to ask. Is your father living with you? And Apostle says, if he's not living with you, please stop going over to his place. Stop going over to your family house to go and see him with the children or without the children, because that's part of what is attracting all these insults. Again, he says, put some distance, move away from where your father can have easy access to you guys, and it will stop or reduce considerably the frequency of the way he insults your husband. Hello, good evening. Hello. Vincent from Ibrafo. I really can't hear you clearly. Can you be louder, please? Okay, please go ahead.
The first time caller, and
thank you very much.
And this little issue, this matter can be of a little issue, because this men of nowadays, they feel like the man wants to better to marry. The man can be rich, and this man is better married, is not as ready as the man who referred to her. So at least that little thing can even make the man to dislike the man. Like that little thing can make the man to dislike. I also could not be able to like call our siblings and like the family, let them sit down together. Then I ask the man the main reason why he dislikes. It's from there that you know our way forward, because like the CX is there.
So they should call a family meeting. Okay, so he's saying they should call a family meeting and really ask ask Joy's father why it is that he doesn't like this man, why it is that he doesn't like Joy's husband, and he should actually fess up and see the reason he doesn't like him, so that they can start to address it rather than continually hurling insults at her husband. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Vincent. How is today?
Today is good. Thank you very much. What's your name and where you're calling from?
It's Maduka from Ikorodu.
Maduka, thank you so much for calling tonight. How are you?
Fine.
Awesome. All right, so what's your advice to Joy?
Okay, my advice to Joy is to tell her husband to be a man, and she should stop going to the father to beg. Maybe it might be one of the reasons that make the man to always insult her husband. And
if they
are living. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm asking you a question. How do you mean going to beg, Maduka? How do you mean going to beg?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. How do you mean they should stop going to her father to beg? Because that's what she said. What do you mean by that?
Maybe what she said is, she said even though her husband, her father talking to her on phone, he always is insulting her husband, right? Yeah. What I mean, maybe he always call her father for one thing or other, and maybe the man is probably is not where ready, or so she should stop. Hello?
I can hear you.
So what I mean, she should stop asking for
financial
father
help from her father.
Yes.
Okay.
So maybe.
Okay, Maduka, if that's the only point you're trying to make, I understand it completely. You're saying that possibly Joy calls her father frequently to ask for money, amongst other things that she possibly needs favors for or assistance for. And you're saying that if that's what she's doing, then it's further undermining the position of her husband and the capability of her husband, which is what is prompting the man to continually insult Joy's husband. So you're saying she should stop doing that if that's something that she does, because that's the reason that her father is continually insulting her husband. So she should stop that so it will stop attracting insult. All right. So this is a message coming in from Comrade, and he's saying, do you live in the house with your father? Do you live in the house, or did your father build a house for you that warrants him to insult your husband? You people should pack away from your father. If my wife's father mouth washes me, I would tongue lash him as well, man to man. Tell the lady and her husband to run away from this man, from the father. Only God knows that I will not visit where they insult me, unless the lady's father gave her a house. Reason, on a tribal reason, Chinwe, the daughter, did not marry his friend's son, and that's it. Chinwe, we don't know the house. Okay, so it's Joy. Her name is Joy. Please come here. Don't confuse my beg. I take a beg. So Joy, you're talking about Chinwe's comment on WhatsApp. All right, I understand now. He said Chinwe, the daughter, did not marry his friend's son, so we don't know the house they're staying in. It said jump examiner. Today you did not ask the house the daughter is staying in. All right, so I already did that. Thank you very much, comrade. Your SMS has entered. Say yes, I support the caller. Maybe the daughter has asked her father for money and Gary and plantain. Oh my God. All right. So I understand what it is that you're saying, and that's a very valid point as well. So it's possible that the daughter, and that's Joy now, is seeking some kind of help or seeks help from time to time from her father, and this is possibly what is contributing to the continuous insults that the father keeps throwing at her husband. Hello, good evening.
Hello, Santo, good evening.
Hello, good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from?
The name is Razak. I'm calling from Mata.
Razak, thank you very much. It's been a while we heard from you. Thank you for calling.
Yes, I listen also. So, my contribution to people have said so many things that really make sense, that they should move far away from the father, and probably they should stop asking for help every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
But one factor. Hello?
I can hear you. Yes, go ahead, please.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Yes, one very fact I want to stress upon tonight is that the lady said that the husband is understanding. I quite understand.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the entire problem lies. There is this saying that respect, even though you are assisting people, you only know today, you don't know tomorrow. But the lady has said because the father wants her to marry somebody else. That man, because it's that understanding that the guy has. And that's why the man still has the God to keep doing that. The lady should just tell the father, that stop, this is what I want. And the guy should not in any way understand at all. For him to be understanding is the problem.
But
Even
she
if you
said
have seen them. So that's my own stand.
she said she has told her
Yeah,
father. She said she has told her father to stop insulting her husband, but her father doesn't listen.
Then if that's the case, they move far away from the man. No matter what happens to him, they should just move very far away from him. It's as simple as that. It's an open and closed case. No any big marrow about it at all.
Thank you very much.
If you don't respect the husband, there's nothing worthy of respect in that man. That kind of father-in-law. That's my own opinion. They should just move away from the man and let him be. So long as my wife loves me and I love her, and I'm the one she prefers. No, that's all.
Okay. Thank you very much, Razak. Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
Okay, that's Razak from Otta. And Razak is saying that the main matter here is not whether or not she's seeking help from her father from time to time. It really doesn't matter. He supports Comrade who's saying it's because he's understanding. Like if he actually defends himself and stands up to her husband or to her father rather, and speaks for himself when the man is insulting him. Now, this doesn't directly mean that he should insult her father as well. It just means that he needs to put a stop to the fact that he's continually being insulted. So he needs to stand up for himself and he needs to do it even in the presence of his daughter. And he's also saying that this open and closed solution rather is for them to move away so that the father can have less and less and less access to them to even be able to insult the husband in the first place. Hello, good evening.
Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening. Good evening, Mamba.
Hello.
This is Christopher from Ogba.
Christopher from Ogba. How are you this evening?
Yeah, I'm fine. You too?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. All right. So what is your advice?
I want to ask a question. Didn't the other man pay the girl by price?
We don't know. We just know that they're married.
You say?
We don't know. We just know that they are married.
Okay. So, don't my advice to that lady that they should go far away from the man, and they should stop asking any favor from him, and the lady should stop going to her father's house, both the husband, so they should go away from the man.
Okay. Thank you very much, Christopher.
Okay,
thank you for calling.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so Christopher is saying that they should stop seeking favors from the man, and they should also stop going to his house. They should stop going to his house. They should stop having all this unnecessary relationship with him, because these are the things that open that door for him to keep insulting a husband. That if they don't have this constant communication, there'll be no room for this to even happen. Hello, good evening.
Hello, Santo, please, 1 minute.
Oyana.
Do you know the reason why now? Can you now understand when Comrade says because it's understandable? That is why I said that is one of the reasons why I said maybe there is a reason for that, because if I'm performing my duties, doing everything, and you insult me, I'll give it back to the person. You understand? When you are in your right, you know, you understand where I'm going. When you are on your right, somebody cannot just tell you anything. You know what you will tell the person.
Well, on some level, Chichi, I understand you, and I understand Comrade, and I understand everybody else has said this. But we don't know certain things. We don't know. Hold on now. The thing where you at the talk, you don't even know what I want to talk. Wait first. Make I finish. We don't know where this man is from, where her husband is from. We don't know where Joy is from. So we don't know if it's a tribal thing. We don't know if it's just a respect thing because maybe he's not doing certain things. We don't know the reason he's insulting this man. And if there's any reason that he's insulting this man that is valid, if there's any reason that he's insulting him that is valid, the man may feel the need not to respond. But regardless of the reason, sometimes some people take respect very seriously. It doesn't matter whether he's Igbo or whether he's not. The man may just feel like, I'm respecting your father. I'm respecting your father. Maybe one day in the future, he might just look at the man and be like, enough. But for now, he's still understanding. For now, he's still soaking it in. For now, he's still taking it for the sake of his daughter, of his wife, rather. And that's Joy now. He's still taking it in and he's still just, you know, and Joy doesn't like it. That's why she's saying, what do we do? Or what do I do? How do I get my father to stop insulting my husband? So it might just be that the Joy's husband is respecting the father, not necessarily because he's okay with it. Nobody is okay with being insulted. Now, I would like to know if Joy is listening. Let us know what some of these insults really are. When you say somebody is insulting somebody, a lot of the time, there are reasons for it. The reasons may not be valid as regards to the credibility of those reasons, but it's coming from somewhere. And it might not just be passive just because you chose to marry your husband as opposed to your father's friend's son who he wanted you to marry. It might not just be that. And if it's just that, there's a reason your father, or there are reasons that your father wanted you to marry that guy, and maybe your husband is not meeting up to some of those reasons that your father chose that guy for you. So let us know what the content of some of these insults are, because we need to understand if the content of some of these insults can be fixed. For instance, if he keeps saying that, oh, you live in a rented apartment and your husband is not man enough to build his own house, you live in a rented apartment, at least you understand that, oh, okay, you're working towards building your own house when you and your husband desire at the time that you choose for that to happen. But at least you've archived it and you know that, oh, my father does not approve of the fact that you and I don't live in our own house. So you'll be able to take one or two things from it and you'll be able to understand it and possibly fix it as time goes on. Okay, please call back if you can. So, looking at it from all these perspectives, we need to understand what it is that the father is saying so that we can get some more context as regards how maybe you can get some hints as regards the things that your father is upset about from the way he insults your husband. You can understand some of your father's perspective. Nobody's saying it's okay, but you can understand something without agreeing with it and without being permissive of it. Hello, good evening.
Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, good evening.
Good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Francis Madebula.
Francis, where are you calling from?
Hello?
Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Mutiaro.
From Ukiaro. Thank you for calling. Are you calling for the first time?
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much. All
Please,
right.
I just advise that the man should sit down to marriage you.
That the man should do what? Okay, Francis, if you can, please call back. You need to say that again so that we can all hear what it is that she said clearly. Okay. Now, looking at it from the daughter's perspective, I mean, from her husband's perspective, I cannot even imagine how Joy's husband feels continually being insulted, repetitively being insulted, almost day and night. And that brings us to the same question. Why is it that your father why is it that he can insult your husband this much? Like, do you live together or do you live in the family house, like in the compound where, your husband lives there, your siblings, maybe they live there too, and your siblings and their families, maybe they all live there, and you're enjoying some benefits from your father, and that is part of what is causing this. Because, I mean, if you don't live close to your father or with your father, he would not have this much access to you and your family to the point where he will be insulting your husband on a continuous basis. So it's important for us to know what the dynamic really is. Where do you live? Does your father live with you? Does your father live with you? Does he live around you? And I'm also very interested in the position of your mother on this subject. Somebody brought that up in the comment section. I'll go and find who said that. And it's important to know What is it that your mother thinks about this? And is there no way that she can be spoken to talk to her husband and actually get him to stop talking bad about your husband? Very important. It's important for us to know that. And also, you say you're a fashion designer and your husband is an engineer. Let us understand the import of being an engineer, the financial import of being an engineer. Now, I ask this because regardless of where your husband is from, if he's providing for you and he's doing well and your family is good, everything is fine, at least from the outside, everything looks good. Your father understands and gets the perspective that his daughter is being taken care of. I don't see why your father will still keep insulting him. So we need to know what the financial health of your family is like, particularly from your husband's point of view. It might not be consequential to you, but it's definitely consequential to this conversation. So, some of the reasons that your husband keeps getting insulted by your father is possibly because of the financial situation. So if the financial situation has a lot to do with your husband as regards to, or maybe he's changing jobs, or maybe he's between jobs rather, so he's not particularly bringing a lot of income to the family and you have to support more than he has, I mean more than he's doing for now, and it's possible that your father knows about this and he's using it against your husband. And it's also possible that your husband is doing well, but your father doesn't approve of what he does. Maybe your husband is, the nature of his job requires him to stay away from you for some time. Maybe he has to travel continually. Maybe he has to stay away from you for just a period of time before he comes back home. He has to travel continually, and then you're left home alone, a good amount of the time. So maybe again, your father has reservations about that and he doesn't like it because he feels like if you had married his friend's son, you will not be at home. You will not be at home alone. Your husband will be with you because my friend's son is possibly not an engineer and doesn't have to travel, you know, unnecessarily in quotes. So it's important for us to understand the dynamic of that. Now I'm coming back to getting your family or siblings involved. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Hello, yeah, I come back Christopher from Wamba.
Okay, please go ahead.
Uh, See, the problem now lies on Joy. One, are they living in a family house
We don't know yet. She hasn't answered.
now? Now, and secondly, how the financial is husband financially okay? Nobody knows. So the question is, she should use her tongue and count her teeth. If they're not financially okay, they should go stop asking anything from the father. And if they are living in the father's house, they should back away as soon as possible, immediately. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christopher. Okay, again, he's echoing some of the thoughts that have been outlined before. He's saying that they should stop seeking favors from the father. And if the husband has any form of financial difficulty, they should not seek any favors anymore from the father. And it's also a situation that they should move away from where they are. If they're living in a family house, they should move away so that they can have their own independence. And at least their father will not have as much room to be able to insult Joy's husband repeatedly. Thank you very much, Christopher. All right, 10:05, and this is 5 minutes past the hour of 10 on Your Women Radio WFM 91.7. Today we're profiling Joy's story. If you're just joining us, Joy is telling us that her husband is continually being insulted by her father. Joy is 34. Her husband is 37. He's an engineer. Joy herself is a fashion designer. And they have two daughters. She doesn't say how long they've been married for, so we don't know. But she says her father is always bad mouthing her husband. Her father does it even in the presence of her husband. She says her husband is understanding, but she knows that her father's words hurt him. Now she says her father is doing this because she refused to marry his friend's son, who he had arranged for her. Now she says she has spoken to her father to respect her husband, but he won't listen and she needs advice. Now, that final part of the story where you said you have spoken to your father and he has refused to listen. Now, I believe very strongly that when a daughter approaches her father for anything, whether it be financial, whether it be emotional, because this is a father that has, well, possibly been there for you all your life. And that is not going to change. You don't stop becoming his little girl. You don't stop becoming his daughter because you got married. So if you've had a one on one with him and he about if you've had a one-on-one with him as regards stopping the continuous insults to your husband, he must have said one or two reasons why he keeps insulting your husband. So you have to share some of those reasons with us so that we can know if it's something that can be worked on. If they can turn around from being insults to being lessons or talking points that can give you and your husband hints on things to do better within your marriage and for yourself as a family. Now, by that, what I mean is if, pardon me, if your husband is always staying away from home because he has to work, if he travels continuously and your father knows about this is possibly something that he will hold against your husband. And if he's insulting him, he would put this in his insults. He will say it continuously that you're always leaving my daughter to herself or her to handle the children by herself. You're not giving her the emotional support that she needs because you're not always here. He would say it from time to time. Now, this will give you an inkling as to why you're being insulted. So you can understand that, oh, maybe you need to start working on a work-life balance. Maybe you need to get a better apartment, maybe closer to work, so you don't have to travel continuously, or you need to just find a balance somehow. Maybe you need to reduce the amount of times you travel in a month or in 2 months so that you can spend more time with the family. Now, this is if this is one of the issues. I'm using this as an instance. I'm using this as an instance so that we can understand what I mean by taking some of those insults and turning them into points that they can work on within their marriage. Also, another important point that I would like to ask. Joy, is there anything that you have told your husband, that you have told your father about your husband in confidence that now he's using to insult your man? Hello, good evening. Good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm Peter calling from Ibafo.
Peter from Ibafo. Thank you very much for calling. Hope you had a good day today.
Yes, thank God for today.
Awesome, awesome. All right, please go ahead.
My own advice is that Joy has to go and meet her father, talk to reason with her father gently, and ask her father what is going on. What does her father is behaving like that? So maybe the father can be able to explain it for her. It's not that she will go and meet her father, be talking to her father without manner of approach. So the father cannot be able to tell her what is going on. So she has to go and meet her father, talk to her father gently. Maybe her father can be able to understand and reason with her. That's my own advice.
Thank you very much, Peter. Okay, so manner of approach is also another thing, and that is what Peter has done well to bring to our notice, or at least bring to our remembrance. So he's saying this that it's possible that she has spoken to him, and maybe the way she spoke to him was not okay, which is why he possibly didn't even tell her why her husband is being insulted, or which is possibly why he didn't listen to her when she said, "Stop insulting my husband." Maybe because of the way she said it. Now, your daughter continually remains your daughter. Your daughter will stay your daughter for life, even if she marries and has a billion children. So, your daughter still has to respect you as her father, but she also needs to respect her husband. And it bothers me when Joy says her father insults her husband even in the presence of her husband, because this makes me think, if her husband is being insulted by her father even in the presence of their daughters. Now, it's one thing to insult your husband in the presence of your husband himself, but it's another thing for your father to insult your husband in the presence of your daughters. That is an extra, that is just a line that crossing it will just cause unnecessary issues. It will amplify the issue, because then your daughters will look at your husband and be like, why in there? I don't know how old your daughters are, but even if they are really, really young, it's something that will resonate in their minds. They may not fully understand it now, but it's something that will resonate in their minds later on. So it's important that you speak to your father. You said you have, but Peter is raising the point of manner of approach. So how did you speak to him the first few times, or all the times that you've spoken to him before? How did you do it? You might need to come up with some creative approaches that fall in the right timing, that can, hit the right spots when it comes to speaking to your father. You know your father. You know your father. It's like we always say, oh, you know your husband, so you know the best place to talk to him, you know the best time to talk to him, you know the best ways to talk to him. This man is your father. You have known him for even longer than you have known your husband. So you should know how to reach him. Now, no matter how difficult your father is, you will still know how to appeal to his soul. You will know the best way to get to him as his daughter. So this is that button that you need to press now. This is that button that you need to press now. That's my father, you are my father. Daddy, you need to stop this. Speak to the father in him, and let it not be like you are confronting him. Peter is saying the manner of approach matters, and it's very true. If you come off confrontational, like you want to start a fight, or like you want to be defensive of your husband, you possibly won't even hear the points that he's raising as regards why he doesn't find your husband a good fit for you, or why he doesn't find your husband worthy of respect. He will probably be telling you the reasons, but because you're all defensive, you won't even hear what it is that he's saying. So Peter is saying the manner of approach is extremely important. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening. Okay.
Good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Agatha.
Agatha. Where are you calling from,
Yes,
Agatha?
from Atogo.
From Matogon. Agatha, thank you for calling. I hope you've had a good day today.
I'm fine.
All right. Please go ahead. What's your advice to Joy?
My advice is very that I don't know maybe whether they say to the father. Are you hearing me?
Yes, yes.
If they do, that will be the problem of what is happening to Joy's father. Hello?
Agatha, I'm with
Are you
you.
hearing
I'm
me?
with you.
So if they close, you have to move far away from the man, because maybe that is the what is the anointing father there and think of surgery. Because
Okay.
some women say if they some people they say if they go to the other place, even the mother in herself, you will see some women they don't even mind, they will be fighting with their husband mother. You understand? Even if you have been in the village before, you know what I'm saying. Sometimes they say, where is it happening? They say that you don't know that is that house. So all the time they will be in the family. Let them move far away from me, father.
Okay. Thank you so much, Agatha. Thank you for calling.
Yes, father.
All right. Same point, same school of thought that has been outlined before. Move away from where your parents are so that you can at least get some space, clear your head, and your husband doesn't have to be subject to all these continuous insults from your father. Now, moving away though, I mean, this is a daughter, And I think this was Apostle who called earlier and said his daughter, when his wife was pregnant, he was praying for a daughter, so that because of how instrumental women are. So he's saying his daughter is 4 years old, and she follows her mother to, to the market, to get granuts, to do all these other things. And my point here is, we all know that a lot of times between the male and female children, it's the male children who usually just move away for business, move away from family, move away for work, and do not stay in touch with their parents. And which is why a lot of the time, if you did not value your female children when they were younger, a lot of parents usually do that when they get older, because it's the females, it's the women, it's the ladies who actually call back and get in touch with home to know how their parents are doing, and they actually care about their parents. Now, where I'm going with this is moving away from home, moving away from the proximity that they live in. Will this not directly affect Joy's ability to check on her father, to be there for him in his old age? And is that not something that would possibly drive another wedge between her and her father? And by that, I mean, would that not be an extra point that her father would have against her husband if they eventually move away? Won't that just be one extra ammunition, one extra reason to hate this man for him to continually insult him? Now, though they'll be far away and he may not be able to come to the house and insult them, but every time he calls, every time they speak on the phone, he would still say the things that he wants to say, because in his mind, it's because of this boy or this man that you married that you moved far away, because I was just saying one or two things. And parents would never really admit that they are continually insulting you and they're hurting your feelings by some of the things that they say. So he'll probably just say something along the lines of, so because I'm saying one or two things now, I just said, oh, only a small thing, and your husband is upset and now carried you away, far away from me. And now continually, and now add more insult to that injury, because he'll feel extra slighted by the fact that your husband is a contributory factor to the fact that you moved away from him. Now, is that something that we want to happen? Is that not another extra nail on the coffin of this insult that the father keeps insulting Joy's husband? Now, has your husband tried to get in contact with your father? Has your husband tried to be friends with your father? Has your husband tried to cultivate any kind of relationship with your father? How did that go if they tried? That's also another thing I would like to know.
Hello, is that I call it back?
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to add from what I said. There is nothing like extra there, so do you understand? If the man have tried, it's not everybody that will take what Joy's father abuse. How will he measure itself? So you understand? Let Joy move away before something will be too late, too, because man, not everybody that will take it, too.
Okay, thank you very much, Agatha.
Yes.
Okay, so Agatha's point is the same point that she made earlier, that they should move away. And I'm asking that, is moving away the best idea? Is moving away the best idea? Will that not be yet another reason why the father would dislike this man because he took his daughter away from him? Will that not be another reason? Now, I was asking, has your husband tried to cultivate a relationship with your father? And maybe this was in the course of the time you were dating, or after you got married, or even just still now. Has your husband tried? And if he has, what is the response from your father? What has it been like? What has the response from your father been like towards that effort to cultivate a relationship? Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. What's your name? Tell me your name again.
Benjamin.
Benjamin from Agbado.
Yes.
Hi, Benjamin. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, please go ahead.
Well, what I suspect that you have that the father-in-law, why is insulting the young man is you from my own angle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only suspecting that there is something that the father-in-law has to give if the daughter has married that his friend's son. Maybe the guy is rich, maybe he's a flasher, maybe he's a politician, something. So they want to use the daughter to get access to that his friend's, domain. So since she refused to marry his friend's son
He
and
has he
marry this
has
guy,
lost
so now
out.
everybody they do this man from what I see. So what I would tell the young lady is that just focus on your family and ignore your father. Simple. If they're living in the same house, she should move away from the house. Then if you are living close by, maybe same street or something like that, back away from that area. Simple as that. Then problem solved.
Okay.
You don't call him again on phone. Maybe she's asking of help, maybe when we drop the children, while she's going to work, all those stuff, you stop it. Look for another avenue. Then the man will start respecting Joy's husband. But if you continue in this mode, he will continue to insult you till that kingdom come. Trust me.
Thank you
That's
very
my
much.
advice.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. Okay. So he made a point about the thing or things that her father could have lost out on as regards the union that he wanted for her, which is the union between her and his friend's son. So he's saying maybe it was political and or a business strategy, and that didn't happen. So he's really hurt, and is that pepper body is the thing that is doing him. That's possibly why. He also says move away and try to restrict access, basically. Hello, good evening.
Hello,
Good evening. Please turn down the volume of your radio.
all right.
Have you done
Can you hear
that?
me now?
I can hear you, but there's still an echo where you are.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, but your radio is still turned on. I can still hear the feedback.
Hello?
Can you turn down the volume of your radio, please?
I've turned it down.
All right, now you've turned it down. I believe you. All right, thank you. What's your name
Sorry.
or where are you calling from? No, that's okay. That's okay.
My name is Esther. I'm calling from Idafo.
Esther, good to hear from you. Esther, are you calling for the first time?
No, this is not my first time. I've called before.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you very much, Esther. Please go ahead.
I'm just because I don't
Esther, say that again, please.
Maybe she move away from that house.
Okay.
I was not only that let her ask prayer to eat that when she does the father ask. There's nothing that is impossible with God.
Okay, so they should move away and they should pray about it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Esther. Thank you for calling.
Yes.
Okay, so Esther is saying they should also move away from where it is that they live. If they're close to their father, they should move away from that place and they should also pray about it so that they would God will intervene and help the situation. Yes, Comrade sent this earlier saying it may be a political issue or a business transformation or family synergy. That's why the man insults him. And this is also a point that Benjamin, this is a point that Benjamin raised as well. So thank you very much for that, comrade. All right, so keep your messages coming in on WhatsApp. Keep them coming in on Facebook as well. On Facebook, I'm taking some comments, and this is from Benjaz, who says, "Ignore your father and focus on your family." Now, Pepe Body, this sounds like Benjamin, like Benjamin who just called down that because he has something to gain if you had married his friend's son. Oluwaseun Emmanuel says, cut every communication with your dad since he doesn't want to respect himself. Hey, people of God, cutting relationship or cutting communication with her father completely, is that really the best thing to do? Is that really the best thing to do? Now, I ask this because it's a difficult situation, particularly when you think about the possible relationship that she would have had with her father. If they were really close, if she's a daddy's girl and you say cut off every communication, it will take something away from her as a person. And now I'm sure some people will say, oh, yes, it will cost you to make you feel a certain way, but this is what is needed for your family to thrive, for your husband to feel like the man of the house, which is important. But cutting off every communication, do you think that that's an extreme move? Is there not a common ground that they can come to? You know, when they say move away, that's one common ground. And again, it's common ground, but it's also a little bit of an extremity, depending on how bad this situation is and depending on where exactly it is that they live in, where exactly it is that they live in. That's also an important factor. So, cutting off every communication though, like she can even if they move away, which is fine, does that mean that she can't even call him or check on him and know how he's doing and all of that? Because in that case, then she neglects her responsibility towards her parents, which is the fact that she has to take care of them, honor them, recognize the fact that they're getting older and be there for them. So if you cut off every communication between father and child, and that's Joy's father and her, would that be the best case scenario? I mean, shouldn't the daughters get to know their grandfather and things along those lines? At the end of the day, everybody loses from this if you do that. So you can restrict communication. I think restricting of communication might be a better idea. Do we think that restricting communication is a much better idea? I mean, if you used to call him every day before, start calling him maybe 3 times or 2 times in a week. And if you used to call him and spend 1 hour with him over the phone, when you call him, you can spend 20 minutes with him over the phone, just to check on him. So you can restrict access. I mean, restrict communication or limit communication rather than cutting off completely the communication. So that's also another thing. Okay, comrade is saying, but the lady is complaining. She may not cut communication, but they can pack away. All right, okay, I got that. She may not cut communication, but they can pack away. So I also said that moving away is a very understandable option. Moving away is a very understandable option given the kind of terrible situation that they're in. This is Joy telling us that she is not okay with the fact that her husband keeps being insulted by her father. Like her father he's not stopping. He just keeps insulting her husband. And she says he does this possibly because she refused to marry her father's friend's son, who her father really wanted her to marry. Hmm. Okay. 29 minutes past the hour of 10 on Your Women Radio 91.7, Nigeria's only radio station for women and their families. This is Adult Conversations where we share real life issues and discuss matters relating to the heart. Here in Adult Conversations, you give all the advice by contributing on this subject matter. So tonight, the subject matter is that of joy. Joy is telling us, my name is Joy. I'm 34. I'm a fashion designer. My husband is 37 and an engineer. We have 2 daughters. My father is always bad mouthing my husband. He does this even in the presence of my husband. My husband is understanding, but I know my father's words hurt him. My father is doing this because I refused to marry his friend's son, who he arranged for me. I have spoken to my father to respect my husband, but he wouldn't listen. Please advise me. And if you're just joining us, that's the story. And the number to call is 07000 917 917. That's the number to call. 07000 917 917. You can also send in a text or WhatsApp message to 0703 175 6537. 0703 175 6537. We're also live on Facebook and YouTube, so you can also leave your comments there. You can watch at WFM 917 on Facebook and on YouTube, and you can leave your comments, and I will definitely read them on the air. So thank you very much and keep them coming in. All right. So this particular situation keeps getting tricky because now Joy is saying that I have spoken to my father to respect my husband, but he wouldn't listen. How many times have you spoken to your father? How have you spoken to him? That's also an important factor, which we have asked earlier. Now, is your mother still alive? Is your mother, has she passed? Is she still alive or is she late? And where does she fall in this entire thing? Is she aware of what is going on? And what has she said concerning this? Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Taufik. I'm calling from K2.
Taufik from K2. Are you a first-time caller, Taufik?
I'm a first time.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Taufik. Thank you for calling. All right, very quickly, please. What is your advice to Joy?
Yes, my advice to her is that I'm a type caller. And you should not be very careful with our father. Because for someone who knows from his father, or he knows father is not like, the answer is not, he should not away from his father. He should look for a way to apologize for someone to beg his father. So that his father will be able to forgive him. Because without the father forgiveness, he can be a cause on her also. Let him now be a grandmother, and her own daughter will do the same system to her. You understand? Because when her father was the
Okay, Taufik, I'm going to stop you right there. Taufik, hold on. I'm going to stop you right there. Taufik, can you hear me? Your network is very bad where you are, and I'm not going to lie to you. Half of the things you've said, I didn't hear. So please try to call back, okay? Thank you. Whew, okay, that was a little bit of a struggle. And that was because Taufik's line was not very good. The network on his line was not very good. So please call back when you can. So talking about about Joy's mother, if she's still alive, why isn't she saying anything about this? Why isn't she saying anything about this? Or if she's saying anything about this, what is she saying? And how is it that she's talking and her husband is not listening? Then again, the answer to that can be very, very relative, depending on the dynamic between Joy's mother and father. You know, there could be one of those couples from way back then that anything that the husband said, that's what goes, that the mother can say all the things she wants to say, the father will still do what he wants because her opinion is not valued. Now, it could be that kind of marriage, but even if that's the case, if the mother herself cannot talk to the man, she would possibly find a way to get his family involved, maybe his brothers or his sister or somebody that she knows that is a good friend to him that can talk to him and he will listen. At least she would do something about it. That's what I'm saying. So if she can talk to him and he will listen, she will try to find a way that somebody that he can listen to will get to speak to him and address it with him and make him see reason why it is not healthy for him to continually insult um Joy's husband. That's why I'm asking, what is she doing about this? Does she even know about it? Or she's not, with us anymore? Hello, good evening.
Hello? Hello?
Good evening. Is this Taufik?
Yes, it's Taufik.
All right, this sounds a lot.
My network clear now?
Yes, this sounds a lot better than earlier. Please go ahead.
Okay. Are you hearing me now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. What I'm trying to say is that he should be very careful with moving away from his father. Because somebody who did this thing to us today, tomorrow he may do that. Okay, when he moves away from his father, and him and his husband now have quarrel, and they drove him away, where is she going to? So you have to be very careful with moving away from his father. Only what I can advise her is to go and look for someone, or him himself should try on his father apologize, kneel down, only her and his father. Beg her father and cry on his neck. Father, forgive me. Maybe I do mistake. Because now he has had two children with that man. So nothing he can do about it. But he has to seek for his father advice, forgiveness, so that he can enjoy his marriage and he will enjoy his father. Because he cannot leave the kids. One cannot work the work that the other one will work. As a father, the husband cannot be as a father for him. Why our father also cannot be as a husband for him? He needs the key. And he has to be very careful for him not to give call on his own children, because if he does this and he run away from his father, when next, this thing can come back from his own daughter also. And if he say something, he will not listen. I think you understand me. So she has to be very careful on this thing. Only what I can say is that she should look for someone or herself to go and beg his father.
Okay, thank you very much, Taufik. Thank you for calling. Okay, so the basic point that Taufik is making is that you don't know the future. You don't know the future. You don't know some of the things that will happen in future that might require your father to be present and for him to have a relationship with you. So he's saying that rather than move away from your father, he's saying his advice to Joy is that she herself should go and see her father and really, really plead with him. Really, really plead with him, go on her knees and beg him and cry and apologize for some of the things that she possibly has done or that her husband possibly has done, and really just plead with him, like plead to her father's honest heart and try to fix it and get him to really see her point and just really sympathize with her and stop insulting her husband. He also says if that doesn't work, she can go with someone that her father respects, someone that he listens to, and maybe that person can weigh in on the conversation and help the trajectory of things as regards the relationship between her father and her husband, because he says you cannot pick your husband and leave your father. You cannot pick your father and leave your husband, that you need both men in your life. And that's what Taufik is saying. So thank you very much. And this is a message coming in from Twinny. Twinny says, good evening, Sumto. I hope you had a great day. I did. Thank you very much, Twinny. She says, regarding the issue for tonight, sometimes the issue, pardon me, sometimes people get hurt when certain things don't turn out as envisaged, especially from people they assume they have control over. But I would like to ask some questions. Does your husband know why your father is being vicious towards him? Did the insults start before or after you got married? Are there responsibilities that your father expects your husbands to be fulfilling? What has your other family members done about this, if they are aware? The truth is, it may be somewhat difficult to stop your father from insulting your husband, but you can control and manage, but both of you can control and manage your response and reaction towards him. You can both do this by not focusing on the hurt, but on the lesson, so that you can both continue to grow together. And that's from Twin. Thank you very much, Twin. So Twin is she mentioned some of the things I have said earlier as regards taking the lesson from what it is that he's saying. So if he's continually insulting you, but he's hitting on certain points all the time, it's possible that these are some sore points for him that he feels that needs to be addressed, or that he feels that your husband needs to be doing more about. So if you take that as a lesson, and though it comes in form of an insult, so it's not motivational or inspirational in any form, but if you manage your response to it according to Tony and you take the lesson rather than look at it from a perspective of insult, then you can actually even work on it and move forward and grow with your spouse. Thank you very much for that again, Tony. Comrade is saying, Taufik, what of my sisters that their dad have died 22 years ago? Have they run away from their husband? And I think Comrade is saying this in response to a question that Taufik asked earlier, where he said, if something happens and they develop issues, that if Joy and her husband develop any issues and they need And Joy is sent away from her husband's house. Like, where will she turn to? Where will she go back to? And Comrade is saying this in response to that. Okay, so you can still send in your messages, send in your text or WhatsApp messages to 0703 175 6537. You can also do well to call into the studio on 07000 917 917. That's the number to call, 07000 917 917. So you can weigh in on this and, give your advice to Joy. Her husband is continually being insulted by her father for reasons that we don't know. We don't know why, because we don't specifically know why. Joy is thinking that the reason for this is because she didn't marry the son of her father's friend that her father really wanted her to get married to. So she rejected that guy and chose her husband and eventually got married to him. So this is why, possibly to Joy, her father is upset with her husband. Now, the point that Comrade made, as well as, I think this was, let me see, I think this was Peter or Benjamin who made the point, Benjamin, I believe, who made the point about maybe there was a political, affiliation or a political, I don't know what the right word is. There was a political, the English is not just coming. Basically, maybe there was a political move that they needed to that needed to be made that would have solidified the system if Joy had married from that family. It might not even be politics, it might be business, it might just be a friendship thing. Maybe the father just really wanted Joy to be a part of that family so it can further intensify the friendship between both families. So maybe that's what the father wanted, or maybe it has something to do with business. But Benjamin and Comrade are saying the father must have lost out on something, which because Joy did not marry this man, did not marry his friend's son, he may have lost out on something, and that's why he's upset. So if this is the case, then well, it has already happened, so there's nothing that can be done about that. No need crying over spilt milk. The milk is spilled already, and that is old news. There's nothing that can be done about that. But now Joy is asking, how do I get my father to stop insulting my husband? So as regards this particular question, so many answers have come in. Stay away from your father, cut communication with him, move away from him. If it's something that if it's a situation where you live close to him, just move away from him so that you can have your own independence. You and your family can grow. You and your family can be all about your business without your father continually being interfering and, of course, directly insulting your husband. They're also saying you need to pray about it. And there's nothing that God cannot do. So when you start to pray about it, God will intervene and you'll be able to, and he will be able to rectify this situation. So another point is the fact that you should go before your father and cry and, really appeal to his sensibilities as his daughter. Really appeal to his sensibilities as his daughter and get him to open up to you as to why he's upset with your husband and why he continually feels the need to insult your husband. So maybe he'll tell you and then you can sort it out as a family. He also says, talk to your father's relatives. So your father's relatives, maybe your father's brother or your father's, basically your uncles, your uncles or aunties, you can talk to them and see if they can contribute to this subject, if they can talk to your father and get him to back down from your husband and just stop insulting him. And they also say you can talk to your siblings as well. And that's you, Joy, your siblings. You can talk to if you can talk to your siblings to talk to their father if they can get through to him. So if you are not getting through to him, if they can get through to him, then it will be worth a try. That they should just stop. They should stop. They should try to get your father to stop insulting your husband. Yes, that's it. Then the role of your mother here is also imperative. If your mother is still alive, she can talk to her husband. And if her husband doesn't listen, she would know one or two people that when she brings them into the conversation, they would be able to speak to your husband. Another person said, your husband needs to start to speak up for himself. He needs to start to speak up for himself. Yes, it's okay to be understanding, but he also needs to start to stand up for himself. He needs to defend himself when he's being insulted, particularly if some of the things that are being said against him are things that he has no control over or things that he's actually doing to the best of his ability. But the father just continues to want to pick a hole or in just wants to, just nip at a particular hole in their family, in their relationship, in their marriage. So your husband needs to speak for himself. And this is another school of thought that your husband needs to speak for himself. Your husband needs to stand up and defend himself against your father. So keep your comments coming in. And if this has been you before, if you have a very, very tricky relationship with your parent, now it may not even be your father. More often than not, people tend to think that it's mothers that do this. They're the ones that are always in their children's business because they want to know what's happening and they want to continually just be in the loop, that they don't want their children to just go completely. But in this case, this is not a mother doing this. This is a father doing this, and which is why this is extra dicey. This is why this is extra dicey. So let us know if you've been through this before, if you ever were in a situation where your husband or wife was continually being insulted, repetitively being insulted by your father or even mother for reasons unknown to you or for any reason. And did the relationship get better or did it get worse? Or did you also have to move away? And what was the resolution? Where are we today? So let us know, and then we can give some advice to Joy. We can give some advice to Joy. Now, it's important that we get to do this, because if this were anybody else, and I'm sure other people are going through this cannot be the only situation peculiar to just Joy. And that's the beauty of adult conversations. We have all these conversations about real life people in these real life situations. And because they're real life situations, that's how you know that it can't be one person going through this. It can be just this person in the face of this country, on the face of this planet, that is going through this. Now, as much as we're giving advice, we're also talking to other people who are listening. So we need to know. So when you call in and you share your story with us or you share your advice with us, you speak to the person whose story we're profiling. And you also speak to other people who are listening to learn one or two things from you on how to do things going forward. So it's imperative that we understand the responsibility that comes with putting a call through and sending in messages. So thank you very much to everyone who has done that so far. This is 11 to 11, 11 minutes to 11 on Your Women Radio WFM 91.7. Nigeria's only radio station for women and their families. My name is Sumto Titilayo Ajama, and tonight we're profiling Joy's story on Adult Conversations. Joy is telling us that her husband is the target of continuous insults from her father. And she's saying that, in her opinion, she feels that her father is doing this because she refused to marry the man that her father wanted her to marry. And this is why she's thinking that this is happening. So she's saying she has spoken to her father to get him to stop hurling insults at her husband, but that is not changing. Her father has not changed anything about it. Her father is not listening to her. So we're wrapping up adult conversations very soon, in a matter of minutes, and I would like to take one or two more calls before we go. So if that person is you, you can put a call through right now and talk to Joy. Talk to Joy, weigh in on the conversation. Let us understand one another's perspective on this so we can actually get Joy to the point where she can make an informed decision on what to do about this. So if you're sharing your story, kindly do that, because we're far spent. Time is far spent. All right. So kindly call in and do that. The number again is 07000 917 917. That's the number. 07000 917 917. You can also send in a text or a WhatsApp message to 0703 175 6537. 0703 175 6537. All right. So as we conclude, it's important that we understand that we are not about breaking up families here. We're not about breaking up families here at Adult Conversations. So whether it be your immediate family or your extended family in this case, we're not about breaking up families at all. And that's why I asked that is the best case scenario for Joy to really move away or for her to cut communication with her father. So what I'm saying is if she if she moves away but she doesn't cut off communication, would that be a healthy compromise as regards this? And what are some of the things that would require what are some of the things that would be required for this move? Because sometimes when we just say, oh, they should move away, we don't know what their financial capability is. So they might not be able to afford anywhere else, or at least anywhere that they desire that is affordable just yet. So they may need to still stick this out for a period of time. But so what does Joy do in that time to stop her father from insulting her husband? Okay. Please call back. We're rounding off very soon. Please call back. All right. So I was asking the question earlier that in this kind of case, what are some of the reasons that um her husband keeps getting insulted? And is moving away the best option? Is moving away the best option? Cutting communication, is that the best option? And then I asked earlier as well, for which I didn't get any answers to some of the questions that I've asked before. Um, has Joy's husband tried to cultivate a relationship with her father? Because if this effort has been noted, now let me I say noted because if the effort has not been reciprocated, I mean if her husband tried but her father was insistent on not having any relationship with him so that he can have free reign to insult him, then that is one thing. The other part would be if there's no effort at all. If there's no effort at all, it will further infuriate the man. And the father, Joy's father, is going to possibly be like, what is even going on with this? Is he not even feeling anything I'm saying and all of that? Then at the end of the day, it either ends up for good or ends up for bad. And we want things to end up for good for Joy tonight. So, hello, good evening. Hello? Your network is very bad. Your network is very bad. Please, your network is bad. It's very bad. All right. So this is where we draw the curtain on adult conversations tonight. Thank you very much to everyone who has called in and sent in messages. And I will take this one call before I go.
Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Good evening. This. Oh, can you turn down the volume of your radio, please?
Well, my own will enter 12 midnight, so you are not closing now.
Oh yeah, nah. Go ahead.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Mr. Darlington speaking.
I know, Mr. Darlington. I was about to ask you why you just disappeared on us. But I didn't know. I did not want to ask again so that you will not disappear again.
I know,
Since you're already here.
I cannot leave Women FM now. Listen.
Thank you very much.
And,
I hope everything has been
most
fine.
times it's not convenient for me to
call. Okay.
But I listen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Darlington.
Now you ask a question. The first thing is, don't get involved in a place where you are not welcome. That is the first thing. All this thing that love is blind. It is at that initial stage. But when you go into the love game proper, you discover that all that glitters is not gold, though. If you go where you are not happy, how can you now enjoy the so-called love? Is it possible? It's not. So when you are from the initial stage, define the parameters for your relationship. If you just go because you love your girl or you love your man, what happens to the family? You can't just live alone. Man was never created to live alone. So if you go to a place and the family did not welcome you, you may not enjoy that love, or you and your girl, or you and your man. And that is what is playing out. If the man had welcomed them from the initial stage, I don't think all these things will play. You don't even need to force yourself to warm your heart into the man. He will welcome you with open arms. But all these things you are not taking care of. That is what is playing out now. So he's going to fight all his life to please the father-in-law. Is that what you call love? Tell me.
Okay.
They won't be happy now.
But if she had married this, her father's friend's son, and things did not work out between them, because the father, though he has a best interest at heart, it might turn out that the man is actually not the right guy for the woman. Then at the end of the day, everything doesn't turn out well at the end of the day. And because she is the one in the marriage already, where does she now start to go from there?
That is it not that it boils down to the same thing. Both families must agree. It's not enough for you and your man to agree. It's not enough, except you don't want to have any communication with your father-in-law or your mother-in-law. All this thing that it is you and your man, you love your man, you love your husband. Two of you should not care. You should not bother. Whatever they are saying. When the chiefs are down, you will go back to this family now.
But
they are the ones that will decide some of the things that will happen in your life. They will. They will play a role.
They will play a role, I agree. But what I'm saying is, if she actually now married this man that her father wanted her to marry, and in that marriage, because her father will not be there with her in that marriage, he would have blessed the union and move on with his life. He's not going to be there with them. So in that marriage where she doesn't love him, he doesn't love her, both of them are just doing it because the father said that, oh, you people are good together, I bless you, go ahead. And if things don't work out, would they now have to continually be going to the father and say, Daddy, we're having issues, every single time?
No, that would not play out.
How would that not play out?
That would not play out. You can't be going back. Listen, what I'm saying from the beginning, apart from the love you have for your man or your husband, how about the family? If there is mutual agreement on both sides, issues will not come up. It will not come up.
All right, Mr. Darlington, we're pressed for time.
But in this case now, it's one-sided. You are now fighting to please the other party. That is where the problem is now. You are fighting to please the other man because they did not welcome you.
Okay, so what's your advice now?
If they find out that, look, so at least it is now at the initial stage. Is that not true?
How do you mean?
I said the marriage is now at the initial stage. They are just starting.
I don't know how long they've been married for. They didn't say. They just said they have 2 daughters.
It's not from the narration now. It's not an old marriage now.
They just said they have 2 daughters. We don't know if they had married for long before they had children. We don't know all those details. You can have 2 daughters and have
It's still young. Let them sit down and have a discussion on where they are going, because they can't live forever trying to please somebody or trying to please each other.
Okay,
it must be mutually agreed. They must sit down and discuss, either with the father-in-law or the husband or the daughter. They must sit down and talk and know where they are going.
All right.
If not, the mutual suspicion will continue. The hatred will not even grow more than this.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Darlington.
Sorry, I've done the touch all this while, but then
no problem.
Christmas is around the corner. I hope you people have something for us.
We'll see about that, and of course, you'll know from
tell
here.
Tell our young lady, wherever she goes, she must come back this Christmas. So.
Thank you very much, Mr. Darlington. Enjoy the rest of your night.
It's all right. Take care.
All right. And on this note, we ably end today's episode of Adult Conversations. Thank you to everyone who has listened. Thank you very much to everyone who has listened, to everyone who has contributed. Thank you very much. I believe very strongly that Joy will be able to take an informed decision based off of your advice tonight. On behalf of Joy, I thank you again, and I hope you'll join me tomorrow on Adult Conversations here on Your Women Radio, WFM 91.7. Thank you to my producer, Taiwo Adeleye, my engineer on duty, Blessing Enuma. My name is Sumto Titilayo Ajama. Keep safe and have a good night.
The voice of women, the voice of women, the voice of women, 91.7.